Welcome to the 11th video in our series of using Unix tools from your Windows platform. As always, I've started PuTTY Terminal Emulator already and logged in. Today, we're going to take a quick look at how to make backups. Everybody makes mistakes. Everybody sometimes will modify or delete the wrong file, and so it's good to have backups. Unix includes tools for this that are easy to use, but they are not graphical. They are text mode tools. So let's take a look at the files I have today. As you can see, I have a Friday directory. If I do an ls on Friday, you'll see I've got 4 files inside. If we do ls-l on Friday, we'll find out a little bit more. We have 3 text files and a Python file. So how can I back this up? The first thing to do is to teach you about a new command line option for ls. We've used ls-l a lot, but we can use a big R for recursive, very much like we used -fr in the last video when we used remove. ls-lr of Friday would recurse into any subdirectories inside of Friday, but we can't see this in this example. So let's make another directory called Python, and let's move our Python file, hello.py, into that Python subdirectory. And we'll come back up to our home, and we'll try that ls-lr command again. And you could see it showed Friday with 1 Python 3 and 2, and then inside Friday Python it showed hello. Another way to see the same information is to use the find command. We could say find Friday. It doesn't show the permissions, but it's a little bit more compact, a little bit shorter, easier to see. There's Friday, and inside are 1, 2, and 3, and then you'll also see that there's a Python, and inside that is hello.py. Great. I want to create a file that's the backup that contains all this information, so that if I make a mistake or delete one of those files, I can get it back. So I use the tar command for that. And I say tar create verbose a file, and I'm going to call this friday.tar, and then I list the files I want to store. Tar is automatically recursive, so if I just say Friday like that, you'll see it backed up exactly the same thing that find showed. So great. You can see I now have a file called friday.tar. How do I look inside that file, that what we call an archive? How do I look inside that archive or that backup without actually changing anything? I just want to look. We can use tar, and we can use the test. C was for create. T is for test. Well, we'll do tar test verbose file friday.tar, and it shows that it has the files we backed up. It remembers the permission. It remembers the user and group. It also even remembers the last modified time and date, and it remembers the size. Wonderful. There's only one problem, and of course, this is something you don't know when you work with Windows. In Windows, most of the time, to make an archive, you will either use WinRAR or WinZip. Those tools will do the backup and compress the data. On Unix, compression is a separate process, a separate tool. So this Friday.tar is not compressed. And you can look at it and see, wow, 4 plus 6 is 10 bytes, plus 4 is 14 bytes, and then I have 132, and you think, 132 plus 14, that's 146 bytes, and look how big this is. This is much larger because it has to store all the file name information, date information, this permission information, and it's large, relatively speaking. So can we have a backup and compression? Yes, we can. You just make the backup like we did, and then you use a separate compression tool. XZ is the most common. And we'll turn on the verbose flag so we can see what it's doing. And we'll say compress Friday.tar. And it says, I did. It's now 384 bytes. It used to be 6,000 something bytes. It's only 0.6. It's 6% of the size. If we take a look, there it is. It's very small. So how do we test this? The safe way to test is to move the Friday directory to Friday.old. And then we need to unpack this. And to unpack this, I'm going to show you the command. You say XC decompress to the console, the name of your compressed archive, and then you feed it to the pipe. Don't worry, we'll have a whole video about that later. But for now, just memorize the command. Feed it to the pipe, and then do tar -X. X is for extract, which means to unpack or get the files back out. It doesn't remove the archive, but it takes the files out and recreates them. We want to do it verbosely so we can see what's happening. We have to say the file is minus. And you think, no, the file is Friday.tar.exe. That was the input to the decompression. That will go into the pipe. And using -F- says read from the pipe. So that's going to read the decompressed archive. And then from that, it's going to extract. Let's watch. It's easier to understand when you watch it. Okay, look at that. It looks almost exactly the same as when we made the archive. Here's where we made the archive with the compress, not yet, but we did a create. And then later, we did the compression in 2 steps. This part we did in one long line. First, we decompressed it to the pipe, and then we extracted from the pipe. What's on the disk right now? You can see there's Friday. And if we do a find on Friday, the files are all there. If we do an ls-lr with an uppercase R, remember this and this are not the same. Unix is case sensitive. Windows is different, it's case preserving. But Windows is case sensitive. So upper and lowercase option letters are not the same. Be careful. Okay. Yes, 1, 2, and 3 are just read and write. And the Python file is read, write, and execute. And if we scroll back far enough, we'll see that's exactly the same as what we saw before. But the gold standard test, I'll show you in the next video.